Thank you very much to the Vice Lord Lieutenant for opening our event for us. It's very, very thankful for you taking the time out to do that. So, my job now as MC for the day is to introduce people and to leave them to it. I've been given a clipboard today, which is great. I mean, when I was in the Navy, you could get away with murder. If you wandered around a camp with a clipboard and a pen in your hand, no one ever asked you what you're up to. So I'll see if I can get away with that again today. So now, on to our main speaker for this morning. I'd like to welcome Mark Bowra, MBE, to present What's Inside Matters. And Mark will be talking about his childhood, his military career, the impact of his stroke, and the formation of his charity. So if we can have a nice warm welcome, please, to Mark. Thank you.
My name is Mark. My pet hate, I can't talk. You know, it's how let's say it. It's a strange thing, but it's aphasia. The words. I can't. The language. It's tricky, but it's doable. But I had a stroke. 5 years ago, and one side of its body, its right side of it's numb all the time, and it's the condition, you know, and the how to say it, it's a condition. But it is, you know, a long way to go, but it's doable. Right, back at the start, years ago, a paddleboard race, the Thames race, hard race, falling in loads of times, and got the car, and the loads of drink, lunch, get the car. 2 hours ago, I had a stroke, and I can't move. I you know, the service station, I can't move it. Half an hour ago, it's I pushed the door, hit the deck. The hospital is, you know, coming round, but right. My point, it's lived, and dark moments. It's good, you know. It's hospital, and the rehab. It's Poole Hospital and Southampton and Headley Court. And my story. I mean, and the 6 months ago, I had a stroke, but get a grip. You know, how to say it, it's get a grip, right? I need to do, you know, a challenge. Invictus, I can swim. Okay. Right. My hair, but you know, right. rugby, you know, it's good. Round the world trip, superb, and it's key rower. It is good. I love it. And the next stage, I mean, the Royal Marines are, you know, the opportunities. It's superb. You know, it's Cornwall, Dartmoor, skiing. It's out of this world. The LERPS course, the jungle phase, it's superb, and Kosovo, it's how to say it, coppers, robbers. You know, it's a good battleground. No, but it's crooks. Right, my point, I mean, preparation, the selection, the SBS, the jungle, the jungle, the selection, I was the jungle phase, the selection. You know, it's perfect, sad, but it's, you know, it's important. Camel gun. I mean, you know, you know, it's a strange thing, but it's loads of Afghans. It's a fantastic place. It's dark, but it's you know, it's superb. I mean, wheelbarrows. I mean, it is. It's a scary place. You know, it's. Yeah, I mean. Well, I personally, talking loads, but you know, my point, the video.
Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, so, hiya. Good morning, I'm Stu, and I'm very fortunate enough to serve with Mark through his military career. You know, Mark was my boss. I was his second in command, and I think you'd all agree. You know, at no stage there did I have to interdict or, you know, help him out there. I mean, that is amazing for a guy who has that level of aphasia to stand up here and present his story. And as he says, what we've now got is a series of videos that can illustrate, I think, 100% exactly what resilience is all about. And it doesn't need me or Mark to say it. We'll use these videos. Mark went through there a very brief account of his service life. As you can appreciate, he mentioned there about his stroke. He was on a paddleboard race up in Marlow. He was returning home for the weekend, and he was just about able to pull into Winchester Services, where he collapsed at the wheel. He was there for about 15 minutes. He was able to open the door, and immediately people realised there was something not quite right. So I think that's the perfect time. If we can play Mark's story, please.
That morning, Mark had got up to drive to London because he was taking part in a paddleboard race. He'd finished and he'd phoned me to say that he'd be home within the next couple of hours. And then I never heard from him, so I started to get a bit worried.
Mark was driving back from London. He started to feel unwell. Fortunately, he was able to pull into Winchester Service Station.
We got the call to say that he had collapsed and he was in hospital and that we needed to get there quite quickly. The chances of surviving a stroke as massive as that are very low. He couldn't speak, he couldn't write, he couldn't read. He was completely paralysed on the right-hand side of his body. But he did survive, and he was in hospital for a total of 1 year.
Mark has just taken this in his stride.
When I heard what had happened to him, I had no doubt at all that his recovery would be a very determined effort.
Mark won't listen if somebody says that he's not going to be able to achieve something. He just completely ignores that.
He was told by clinical experts that he'd never drive. 9 months later, he's picking up an award for the most improved driving student.
He's proving that the rehab does work if you just keep at it and don't give up. He's now able to walk and his speech is really coming on.
Failure is not an option.
Mark's always loved the water. The first thing he wanted when he came home was to get down the beach. They didn't think it was safe for him to go in the water unaided. He knew he would be able to do it, so he just pushed on through and went for it.
The determination is still there. All those key skills that made him inspirational in the military, never-ending pursuit of excellence.
When he heard about the Invictus, it was a great aim for him.
He's a multiple competitor.
He trains nearly every day.
Nothing will stop this man.
Mark Bowra, MBE in lane 2. Mark Bowra is almost a length ahead. It looks like Bowra's going to get it.
And he got gold for the 100 metres freestyle. When he actually got the medals, I was just so happy for him.
Mark never ceases to amaze me in his power of recovery.
He's been inspirational in the way that he's gone forward. He hasn't really faltered at all. And typical for Mark, what he's now doing is concentrating on other people's recovery and trying to help them with his experience with the Bowra bag and everything that goes with it.
So I think what I'd like to expand on really there is the sort of final words from Carol Betteridge from Help for Heroes, where she mentions that, Mark, not content with his own recovery, what he actually wants to do is help other people. And, certainly in my experience, helping other people is good for your own mental and physical well-being. And, Mark being Mark, he was absolutely determined that what he actually needed to do was set up a charity predominantly to help other people, and in particular he'll often speak about an analogy where his support, and it mentions Headley Court. Mark went to Headley Court for 12 months. He was then picked up by the Royal Marine System down in Plymouth, and he spent a year there, and he recognises the fact that as a serving personnel or as a veteran, you get fantastic support, but the wider civilian community doesn't have quite the same access. And what he wanted to do was just be able to, distribute that hope, and that's something, Mark has often spoken to me about, is not giving up hope, finding something to focus on. He mentioned it very early on in his speech that the Invictus Games for him was a game changer. 6 months of Headley, you heard him mention some dark places. He found something to focus his energy on. He'd done that in his own personal recovery. He needed to do more, and that's when my eyes went, oh no, Mark, what is it you want to do now? And it was, I want to set up a charity. And Mark, being his inimitable self, with all the help and support, he's been able to do that. And I think this time last year, as the sort of main opening event for his charity, we completed an event that we called the Bowra 1000. And the idea was that Mark would cycle from John O'Groats back down to Land's End. He'd climb the 4 summits, Ben Nevis, Snowdon, Scafell Pike and Penny Fan, and he'd swim across 3 lakes. As we're all too aware, COVID hit. Mark, being Mark, was like, no, I've got to do this. And we came up with a plan that saw him do all of this pretty much based out of Poole, Dorset. And Along the way, we were able to bring along lots of his close friends and other veterans, 75 in total, and we were able to bring together a whole group of other people with brain injury. And I think the next video that we'll show, that kind of explains what was going on, but we've got other inspirational veterans who will talk on this video and will just sort of re-emphasize this whole idea of resilience and what it is. If we can play the Monty Halls video, please.
I think the reason for getting involved with the Bowra Foundation was obviously there's a strong connection as a Royal Marine to, as part of the Royal Marines family, as it were. But it's just such an inspiring, extraordinary story. To be hit by this unexpected event in life, this lightning bolt, and to pick yourself up again and just go again and just keep going, and not be put off by adversity and not be put off by problems and not be put off by obstacles. Nowadays, in the world we live in, the current environment, the challenges we're all facing, it was such an inspiring thing. And also the fact that the Bowra Foundation reaches out to help out other people as well. And yeah, so it was irresistible, really. I really wanted to be part of it.
I was lucky enough to cycle with Mark yesterday from Princetown down to Stonehouse. It's really round the corner from me, so I live round the corner, but it's lovely getting up. But it's just nice spending time with Mark. Last time we was together was in Israel, where we was competing against each other in swimming. So it's just nice getting out, and especially today getting out and paddling around Plymouth Sound and then swimming round the corner. It's been brilliant, really good couple of days.
I think the whole of society faces challenges at the moment. The whole of Britain faces challenges, and of course our veterans are amongst those people. But one of the great things veterans have is that they're never truly alone, and I think it's such an important thing to remember. There are so many organisations set up to support veterans, and places they can reach out for assistance and financial assistance as well, and it's so important to remember that. And the expression is you should never fight alone, and you are part of a family and you're part of a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and it's always worth remembering that you might feel alone, but actually there's so many organisations set up to support our veterans, and that's a truly great thing. And what's happened today is just a shining example of that, really. And the fact that Mark's put himself out there to do this extraordinary challenge, but is doing it to help the wider veteran community and to help people who've had brain injuries. It's inspiring stuff. So no veteran should ever feel alone, and I think that's the really important thing. There's a wonderful network of small organisations, of charities, of government bodies set up to support our veterans, and quite right too, I think.
As a veteran, sometimes you can, when you leave the service, tend to feel a little bit isolated. It can take some time to adjust from being in the military to being a veteran. I would say embrace being a veteran, be proud of what you've done, seek support, help from groups like Armed Forces Veterans Breakfast Clubs that might be local to you, other events and charities that are undertaking and celebrating events as well, because it's enriching to be a veteran as it is to have been in the services. Thank you.
When Mark approached me and asked if I'd be an ambassador, I couldn't have been more honoured and privileged to have somebody of such high regard ask me to be involved in that role. Yeah, just incredible, and what he's doing for so many other people, what he's already achieved himself is incredibly inspirational, but to then want to go on and help others as well is just something very, very close to my heart, very passionate about, as my background as a physiotherapist as well.
I suppose the one lesson that I've learned since being dragged screaming out of the Royal Marines is that initially you think that your life and your identity is so tied up with being in the services that when you leave you think that's gone. It hasn't. That adventurous spirit still stay there, so keep challenging yourself, get involved in different things, and you'll re-find that self that you thought you'd lost. So hang in there, you're still the same person that you was the day you walked out of those gates for the last time, and that person who was defined by service is still there.
So I think that video certainly gives endorsement to what Mark's doing from a veteran perspective. What I'd like to show as our final video really is exactly why Mark set his charity up, was to use those inspirational veterans to inspire other people. So if we could just play the Alex video, please.
Hello, my name's Andrew. I had a stroke 5 years ago. I'm an ex-hotelier from Poole in Dorset, and I retired and had 2 years of retirement and then had the stroke.
I'm Gwen and this is my brother Alex.
Me.
What happened to you when you were 7?
I had a stroke. I mean, it was living hell.
You've got an amazing boy now that's achieved more than what we ever thought he would. Yeah, it's amazing. You're amazing, and Mark's amazing, and everyone's amazing. You make me very proud every day.
I mean, you have to come to terms with it and just make as best of life as you can, really. When I left hospital, I was in a wheelchair for 2 years and told I'd never walk again. So to be able to walk anywhere for me now is just a joy. So going on a walk with Mark is fantastic. You want?
I think for me, as a parent, the biggest thing is about raising awareness, because the amount of people that we've met on our journey, meeting other people, is they don't realise children have strokes. Someone can have a stroke at any age. It can happen in the womb, it can happen when they're born, when they're 7 years old after having chickenpox. People aren't aware that children can have strokes. So what happened when you had your stroke?
Well, things became blurry the first few days. The second few days I found a few people to help my physiotherapist, and more by more I found Arnie.
You did, we found Arnie a bit later on, didn't we?
Yep.
And then that's where we met Mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, I found Mark there and we became friends.
You have.
And we've been on some great times.
Yes, with Mark we've done walks over the Purbeck, just getting in training for what he's doing now, really. And it's great to be able to support him and go with him and encourage him. But he's an amazing person and just unstoppable, really.
And it was really fun to bike.
I think that's been the thing you've enjoyed the most, isn't it, going on the bike?
Tell me all about that then. Tell me all about being on the bike.
Well, the bike was different from the model that I used to go on when I was a child.
So tell me, you told us what the bike was like, but what was it like for you being on the bike?
It's like being alive again.
You really enjoyed it?
Yeah. Having the wind in my hair.
When I first heard about Mark's Bowra bag, I thought it was a brilliant idea. When I had my stroke and was in hospital, I was completely in the blue as to what was happening and what my future might be. And Mark's Bowra bag is a start for people who've had a stroke, just to help them think about their rehab. And I would have welcomed something like that when I was there.
If you have a stroke, you're not alone. You have me, you have Mark, you have
Me.
Dr. Tom, you have...
Me.
Of course you've got Gwen.
Not you.
You do not open your eyes. Come on.
No.
So I think the young lad in that video there, Alex Rowantree Roche, he mentions, he's asked the question, what was it like being on a bike? And he said, I feel alive, and I can tell you every time I see that, it does bring a little tear to your eye, and that is exactly what Mark set his charity up to do. And do you know what? That actually helps your own mental well-being. So there's a massive thank you from me to Mark for allowing me to be part of his charity. But I think that probably really does say it all. And I think now's the time to open the floor up to questions, please. Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm actually quite tearful. Thank you very much indeed. I just wanted to ask, is it for anybody that's had a stroke? Is it completely open to anybody?
Yeah, so the charity's beneficiaries really fall across two categories, really. So it's the veteran community, because we need the veteran community to provide that inspiration, but it's predominantly focused at people that have neurological disorders. So it's about brain injury. So a stroke, Mark had a stroke. That's given a brain injury, but the young lad there, his stroke was brought on through chicken pox. We've taken people out surfing. We were out surfing a week and a half ago, and we had people, a young girl who'd been in a road traffic accident. She was severely disabled, and they put her on a chair and got her out surfing. And it's those things. So yes, in answer to your question, absolutely. And Mark's desire is to help people. Just give them that lift, provide them with that hope, and say, do you know what? Actually, there's some things you can do. There is one of the lads up there, actually, he's got a really absolutely fantastic strapline. Lee Spencer, the Royal Marine, great friend of Mark's, inspirational character, resilience in spades. His strapline is, not defined by disability, and that's kind of what this is all about.
Thank you very much indeed. And all I'd like to say is I'm here representing Dorset Police, and I'd love to have a chat with you about maybe how we can make a stronger connection if that connection doesn't already exist.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Well, we'll certainly be back at question and answers. I don't know, Mark, have you got something?
No. Thank you.
Thank you very much.